Hey, everybody. Welcome back to your Dawn of Autonomy podcast. I'm Dawn Solai, your host, CEO of P3 Tech Consulting, and now also the publisher at Autonomy Global. So great to have you. We are in a month that we've dedicated to this amazing theme of public safety and defense, and is sponsored by Mark43. We have two incredible people here from Mark43 with us today, Banning Sweatland and Ganesha Martin. And I'm not going to even try to do any kind of justice to their bios and their backgrounds. In fact, what I'm going to do is just jump right into it and hand it over to them to tell you a little bit about their background. Honestly, I feel like between these guys and who we have coming up this entire month, we should have just called this Rockstar Month, honestly. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with Banning first. So Banning, if you could tell everybody a little bit about your background.
You bet. Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Don, for having us on the show. My name is Banning Sweatland. I currently do business development with Mark43. I started my career directly after high school by joining the United States Marine Corps. And the only reason I did that is I needed a gap filler between high school and the age to become a police officer. Got to learn some interesting skills while I was in the Marine Corps. Got out with an honorable discharge just before the towers got hit, got right into law enforcement. And I was in law enforcement for 21 years. And while I was in law enforcement, I got to do everything under the ceiling of law enforcement. And that goes from patrol, CID, K9, got to use drones when drones came into the picture. I was there, body cameras were introduced. So it was amazing. And I would say one of the funnest times, or one of the best things I got to do while in there, was learning about drones and the ability of everything that it let us do is law enforcement. I mean, it really stepped up our game. But I've done everything in law enforcement from patrol all the way up to the administrative side. I got to learn the whole gamut of it. But you say rock stars, and who we have with us today, Ganesha, I mean, she's truly a rock star. Once I got to start working with her and hear everything that she's got to do for Mark43, it's been amazing, and even stuff outside of Mark43. So I'm going to leave my resume at that and allow my partner to get on here and tell the way what she gets to do.
Well, that's awesome. And, you're so humble. Before we go to Ganesha, and 100%, she's also a rock star. We're getting to her in 1 second. I want to also just mention that Sweatland is a board member for the National Law Enforcement Officer Hall of Fame. He's a Texas Master Peace Officer. And fun fact, he is also a podcaster himself. His podcast is called Two Cops, One Donut. So if you haven't watched that, check it out. So Ganesha, over to you.
Yeah, so I appreciate y'all saying all those great things about me, but y'all are now the people are gonna be womp womp, after I tell them, my background. But super happy to be here this morning. Listening to Banning tell, his background made me think about this room of chiefs I was sitting in 2 days ago in Arizona, and there were folks, they were talking about drones, they were talking about technology, but they had all the folks in the room raise their hand about do you remember when MDTs were introduced, all this kind of stuff. So it's just amazing how far we've come with technology to help in law enforcement. So I'm an attorney by education and training. A lot of times people kind of doubt my sanity from going to practicing law to law enforcement. But I love it. I started out as deputy mayor of public safety and emergency management in the city of Baltimore, overseeing 6 agencies, one of which was police, and then was asked to come over to be the chief of staff to the police commissioner. It was a chief from the West Coast, and this was the East Coast police department. And so that was interesting. I always call it like one of the worst Super Bowls you ever see. those two things kind of colliding. But anyway, great experience. Started as a chief of staff, and then around Ferguson and all those things started to happen, I was asked to go and work in the legislature and make sure that any laws that were passed and they were helpful to the police department. Came back and created the Bureau of Community Engagement. And then the very next day, Freddie Gray died in Baltimore, and we were in the midst of the riots and the uprising. And then I was asked to lead the DOJ efforts there. and help implement new technology. Eighth largest police department, Baltimore, was still writing their reports, 300 plus murders. And so we really leveraged that consent decree to get the first thing is to get them MDTs in their car. And again, this was only like 7 years ago. So anyway, when I left there, I started doing consulting around the country, was a consultant for Mark43. And then they asked me to come on to be the VP of Community Affairs and Public Policy, where I pretty much spend my time working with police departments and cities on how to leverage technology to be responsive to all the demands that they have from community and from politicians. So super happy to be here with you all today.
Well, like I said, everybody, and by the way, of course, we are live. Ganesha's on the road, Banning. I'm not sure where you are. I know you've got a background going on there. But just a reminder, everybody, jump in the chat, say hello, tell us where you're from, ask these experts your questions. We're going to be jumping into what Mark43 does in terms of contributing to public safety and defense both. But before we do that, the defense community where I come from, we're acronym heavy, and you guys both said an acronym that I want to make sure that everybody understands, because I just Googled it and I know it's not right. MVT, is that what you said?
Oh, MDT. So mobile data, or what? Help me out, man. Mobile data, computers, tough book.
It's also known as MDCs, mobile data computers. It's the computers within the officer's car itself.
Oh, MDT or MDC. Okay, I was looking up MVT and I'm like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. So, all right, gotcha. We'll go ahead and get Ganesha to explain what Mark43 is all about.
Yeah, so, I'm actually sitting here in Minneapolis right now. With all of the command staff right next door. We're having a retreat on just morale and how the things that you can do to help. And that just makes me think about why I joined Mark43 and why Mark43 was founded. When you hear folks talk about Mark43, they say because they were first to build in the cloud native, you can be sitting in a patrol car and, they can, the patrol officer can say like, this is working well for me.
Ganesha, actually that fear of the cloud, if you will, that of course in the military, when people started talking about that, there was great concerns. How is this going to go from a cybersecurity standpoint? But you're absolutely right. Everybody's working in the cloud now, and you guys were some of the first. And, Banning, Ganesha, mentioned some of these problems in terms of, that origin story that Mark43 was created to solve. But, you've been in the field for so long, you said 20 plus years, you've seen it all, and you've worked with this technology now. I know you've been with the company about, a little bit less than a year at this point. From your perspective, what problems has Mark43 solved for the public safety community out there?
Well, just with law enforcement in general across the country, and by the grace, I've been connected to so many officers and chiefs and sheriffs across the nation, so I get to hear about it on my LinkedIn platform. Just the immense pressure, their limited resources, workforce shortages, and rising public expectations. But it really comes down to a few other major challenges, and the limited resources is truly number one across the country. Is having enough people that are truly trained out there to get the job done. And then if you have a very complex system that you're trying to do everything on, that's going in towards the overtime. It's going in towards everything. And it's really tough to have the proper system on there. And that's what I love about Mark43. It's shortening officers' time with either in the department or in their car or on their phone, doing those reports necessary to get the case all the way to the DA. And if we can shorten that time and get them back out on the street, that's number one.
Honestly, Banning, it's not just law enforcement. It's really anybody. When you think about the amount of admin that goes into any given process, I know for law enforcement in particular, that report writing, and we're going to talk about how Mark43 has expedited all of these things, has automated a lot of these things to save time and effort, but like maintain excellence and accuracy. Things like that are just so critical. Absolutely. You talked about doing more with less, and I want to kind of foot stomp that, because we're seeing kind of across the nation lots of shifts in terms of employment and where people are going. I know in the military it's been really hard. I mean, by definition, the military is less than 1%, right, of the current population that raise their right hand and say, I'm going to join. How's it looking on the police force? I mean, are we seeing shortages across the board in terms of younger people saying, this is a career that I want to enter into?
There is, and I do different things at different police academies, and I'm seeing the classes smaller. That may not be the gamut for the whole country, but at least down here in the southern area, we're seeing smaller academy classes. There is still many people that want to serve. And there's a lot of agencies that are lowering some expectations, and I know we have to be careful with that. I'm seeing a lot of the college degree, and I'm not saying you have to have a college degree to do this at all. When I got into this, I didn't have a college degree, and I excelled very well just from on the job training. But I had amazing FTOs. And I think that's a key matrix to this, is if you get people that are truly in love with the job, that are teaching the next generation, that helps them want to stay with this. And it's the generation before with this new generation coming in. And right now we have a great generation that's out there that's thinning out with all the retirements and everything like that. So I'm not sure kind of where the motivation has gone, especially in some of these big cities. And I know resources, we have to pay these people to be able to stick around. And that's a tough thing, because we have other competitive careers out there, and people are wanting to take care of their families, and law enforcement has been slow on that pay scale to kind of come up in a lot of these large agencies.
Yeah, my view, like as we move further away in time from 9/11, I mean, people forget there's an entire new generation coming up that doesn't even know what it is. They didn't experience it, right? And I think there was just like such a big surge of this desire to serve the country after something like that happened. But at the same time, as resources are dwindling, crises and disasters seem to be increasing. And when you think about that, that's where, whether it's, hurricanes, tornadoes, just, crime in general, but as you think about that, that's where technology, I feel like, comes into play. And Ganesha, I'm going to go back to you, because, some of these challenges that we're seeing in public safety, can you talk about maybe some of the fragmented systems as an example, or a lack of technical expertise that we're seeing out there, and how Mark43 and your approach helps to tackle those challenges?
Yeah, definitely. And, going a little bit back to what you and Banning were just talking about, I'm across the country. As a matter of fact, I sat in a convening of about signing votes that folks were not taking. But then you're from some small agents that, they're fully staffed. But, we're hearing about phone shift that used to be 16 for an hour, 2 people. It's a struggle across the country. But the other thing that folks are talking about, chiefs are talking about, is this new generation. They have it in their lives. And so when they're doing everything on their iPhone, and you have them come in and you them that they have to go in front of a computer, then you're losing folks. So with Mark43, we are very focused on that in-user experience. Even in some of our shows, we do hands-on labs. So we want the folks to touch it, officers to. The other thing we're really focused on, safe streets. Streets focused on their mission, not focused on software. The last thing I'll say is that because Mark43 and does automatic updates, you're usually not getting trash in, trash in, trash out.
Right.
We have dropped down a lot of things that make sure the police need to complete their mission.
Well, 100%. And, less keystrokes, the better, right? I mean, in terms of to the extent that you can automate things and the information is accurate, the easier it is, the more quality, kind of products that come out on that back end. But I do want to acknowledge Kay Cruz is one of our super fans. He is out there yammering away in the chat. So, hey, Kay, love to see you out there. Great answers. He says, wants to review Mark43, curious to see your performance. I think you'll be impressed, so check it out for sure. He has a question for you guys, and I'd like to just pause for a second and posit this to you. Is it possible to create a law enforcement division strictly related to drone officers or UAS officers, much like when the bike patrol or horseback officers evolved? And let's see. Yeah. And maybe sell that UAS division, if you will, as a new enforcement division for the new youth of today in terms of that workforce development and recruitment.
May I take a step?
Yeah, please take it away.
And I'm going to go back for just 2 seconds on the previous on Fragmented. Me as an FTO, which stands for Field Training Officer, I don't think I got to bring that up before, and that's the people that are training this new generation or a new officer in a police department out in the field. I'm going to call them kids. I'm going to show my age a little bit. We have 21 to 25-year-olds that are entering law enforcement, and they're used to having social media, smartphones, iPhone, Androids, all the way back to when they were elementary and high school, and everything was on one device at the tip of their fingers. And then they get to these agencies that don't have the grant writer to the best software, and they're asked to use 5 different screens on one computer to get one call done. And that goes from automatic license plate recognition to crime scene stuff to email. And it's they have to go find it all and have individual passwords for each, and they can't be the same.
And you have to update them probably every 30 days or something insane with like 16 characters with so many, it's just like, kill me now. I've
seen some of these law enforcement guys at larger agencies have a fingerprint depressor on their MDTs, the computers in the cars and the ones in their department to looking at the eyes, kind of how the iPhone unlocks, and then a password on top of it. I get it. We have to have security, but we're asking these people to do more and more and more with technology. As technology gets better, it should be less and less, kind of Mark43's approach on it. We bring everything to one place. But going into the drone stuff, let's look at the military. The military is focusing and has been now for several years on a drone deployment team. And it is like that horseback unit or the bike unit or the motor unit where they're all together. They have their own commander and they go out and deploy as a team and bring all this data down to patrol into the administrators, kind of like how Mark43 works. It brings it all into one place. So there are some departments out there, larger ones, that have just their drone team and they have the money to do that. And you can see what that's doing for crime. When you have a dedicated unit that's out there, sometimes 24/7, it's amazing. And a lot of times they're attached to these real-time live crime centers. And once you get everything together like that, and you have this big fusion center, it's amazing. It's like a symphony in front of you. To be able to deter crime and bring stuff live to patrol. And it just gets a lot less people injured, including the citizens. I mean, once we're out there to swear and protect, these drones are bringing us into a new dimension of law enforcement.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, the drone is first responder concept and is, I think, really taking it to a new level. And by the way, there is going to be a really cool video at the end. So please stick around. We're going to show you a little bit more. We're also going to drop a link in case you missed it. We did do a product demo with a worldwide release of Mark43 platform. And Kevin Frey walks us through literally screen by screen and all the different interfaces. So, before you even just kind of go to their website, you might want to check that out. It's probably on their website too, and their YouTube channel and the Don Zolda YouTube channel. So check that video out if you haven't seen it, and you'll understand like what this computer-aided dispatch and records management system, but so much more, brings to the fight, if you will. And so it's a game changer. And I want to talk a little, let's bring it to reality, okay? Because we can talk about, oh, you push this button and it helps generate the report, or, brings in good data. Like when you're out there in the field, you can use your iPhone and input data as you're running into the building and not be tied just to what's on the computer in your car. All these amazing things you guys do, but I want to make this real. I want to go to some real world examples. So let's go ahead and talk about the Fort Myers PD case study.
So they were hit hard. The networks went down, and Fort Myers PD remained fully operational without losing all city work communications. With mobile air cards, they continue taking 911 calls, dispatching officers, and assisting neighboring agencies actually whose communications had gone down too. So they were able to piggyback off of Mark 43's capabilities when they weren't even our customers to be able to. Yeah.
So like a comms relay.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Which is critical. I mean, all you've been in it. Everybody, a lot of people on the call. When disaster hits, you don't have time to think. In this line of work, there are people literally waiting for you, expecting you to help them. And when your communications goes down, you are flying blind, literally. And that's putting everybody's life in danger. And so it was a real proud moment for me and Mark 43 to not only be able to help our customer, but that kind of like police community to come together and help even other communities.
That's me. I'm chuckling here, not because the topic is funny, but because you're talking about when comms go down, and I'm thinking, ours have been going down. In fact, I'm not sure. I think Banning's there, but I'm not entirely sure as we're speaking here. But I want to. You said something earlier, Ganesha, about analytics, and you and I both know, and everybody on this call knows, it's all about the data, right? But the data is worthless if it's not it doesn't provide actionable intelligence. And when you talk about life and death situations where decisions have to be made in split seconds, having a system that can aid you with that in terms of artificial intelligence or whatever is really key. So how is Mark 43 leveraging some of these advanced technologies, whether it's, artificial intelligence or, advanced algorithms to help those officers in those split second moments?
Yeah. So again, I just have to give a shout out to Mark 43. And I don't say this because they pay my bills, because there's a lot of other companies that I work for. But what I love about Mark 43 is that when AI, right, we got to do AI. They call together some of our top customers, folks that really want to, delve into this and think about it. And we called them together, brought them together in New York, and we sit around a table. And we talk about what are your needs? What's your biggest pain points? What are your big challenges? Because, AI can cure everything. And it's curing a lot of different stuff. It makes me sound smarter than I really am sometimes, right? But in law enforcement, that is not placed to play guinea pig, in my opinion. And so hearing the field is super important. So what some things we're doing is using AI to help write report, helping using AI to help brief folks, investigators on their investigations, using AI to bring together all the pieces of our system. So the CAD, the RMS, the investigations, the use of force. A lot of departments had to log in to 4 to 6 systems a day. So much when you're going call to call to call, some upwards of 16, right? And so having Mark 43, where you have these systems that are seamless and you have that AI that's pulling together information, that quick, you're that much more prepared, not only for a call, but then after all to follow up. 43 is really endlessly focused on using AI for those purposes.
Well, and, we're talking about multiple systems that have to talk to each other, and interoperability is key. So Banning, elaborate a little bit on kind of the data-driven policing and the interoperability that Mark 43's products bring to the fight.
It's amazing, Don. 21 years in, I've used a lot of legacy systems out there for CAD and RMS. And I've always been the person on the other side of the table and law enforcement looking at this new technology coming out and being on that team to help decide what was the best systems to bring in. And we always had an issue with different systems out there. Like, we can do this, but we don't communicate well with that company that you have. So that's going to be a separate platform. We can't pull in any data, et cetera. And I could talk at length on that. But what Mark43 has on this is what's called an open API. And learning about this technology on how well Mark43 plays out in the field. It doesn't matter if they're competitors of ours. We have an open source to where we can digest a lot more data than some of these other vendors out there, to where we play well in the field with everybody as long as they're willing to play with us. And there's so many great vendors out there that want this law enforcement agency to be spectacular in what they do. They will do that. It's so amazing. We can bring in and push out data to so many different vendors out there, bringing everything, like I was speaking before, to one place. And that, Mark43 really is set aside from other companies on that, to where how well we do play with others. And it's bringing all that tech into one area. I personally never seen that before getting introduced to Mark43.
Yeah, that's huge. I just remember when AI started to bubble up, and Ganesha, I think you, as an attorney, also you'll appreciate this. My brain went right to, boy, if I was an attorney working in a law firm and I got reams and reams of documents for discovery, how awesome would it be, instead of like having a law clerk tucked away in some back room for 4 months going through every single page, to get that digitized and then run AI through it to find like those keywords. You're still going to need that human in the loop. But man, I imagine from the investigative side, like Ganesha was saying, if you have a certain MO, right, modus operandi, where someone is, I'm thinking about the Christmas one with Joe Pesci, Home Alone, where, the wet bandits, right? They kept leaving the stupid spigot on and like flooding the kitchen. If you had an MO like that, and then you could correlate, quickly with your system, not just from your state, but possibly even cross, jurisdictional data of who else is seeing this weird kitchen sink MO in these robberies. How much more quickly could that be solved, right? I mean, criminals, we know, just because they're criminals doesn't make them smart. A lot of them are actually stupid. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about cybersecurity, because I know that's something we mentioned in passing, but it's actually not something that should be mentioned in passing, because I know Mark43 worked really hard to get federal high certified, which is a really big deal on the federal side, and for the DoD and Department of Homeland Security and other 3-letter agencies out there. Explain, the cybersecurity aspects of the technology that you guys are bringing to these agencies.
Yeah, so I'll start, and then Banny, you can finish. Yeah, so Mark43 was relentlessly focused on getting that FedRAMP high, so that we could compete in the federal space. But it's really been helpful to local jurisdictions as well. As you know, ransomware attacks are rampant, and sometimes both mayors and police chiefs don't even report it right to externally because of the embarrassment or whatever you may have, and so then they get hit 2 and 3 times. So we know the criminals there are some that are not that smart, but these that play in this space tend to be a step ahead of a lot of local police departments. And so having that cybersecurity kind of hardening is important to us. The other thing we're offering, which is our CISO has come up with, is just a monitoring of your systems. so that you can be proactive. Not what do you do after you've been attacked, but how do we kind of pick up? So they have created a package that is on the level of what a corporation would use to protect their assets, and offering that type of consulting and services to police departments.
Oh, I think we've already dive into this a little bit with this cybersecurity solution set, but I want to kind of transition and focus a little bit more on really what's new, because as I said, we had Kevin and Jeremy on the show previously, and I know you guys continually evolve in terms of your technology and new rollouts and updates. So tell a little bit about like what's been happening and what's new at Mark43.
So we just had our, and I never thought as a Marine and as an officer, I would talk about something of sales kickoff. I'm in this private industry now, and I didn't know what to expect. This is the first time I've kind of been in the private industry, and I got to go to something called a sales kickoff. Again, didn't know what to expect. And I got there and I was completely blown away. Mark43's got this new thing coming out. It's called Insights. And I could have had this as an administrator. This would have been a game changer, either going to your commissioners needing more money for whatever aspect of your police department or your city council. So Insights is a platform that basically brings analytics in, and they're using so much to bring it so quickly, pretty much on a live platform. And I wish Kevin was here to explain a little bit more. I got to see a demonstration of this, but basically an administrator or somebody at the city can say, I want to see traffic stops on Main Street from this date to this date, with the type of clearances, how did they clear it, how many citations were generated, et cetera. And it can break it all down instantaneously to you. And when you can truly show what your patrol and different divisions are out there doing, pretty much in live time, it shows that the people are out there doing their jobs. And if we have a shortage somewhere, the Insights is going to be able to come in and tell you where else you need to focus on. And being in patrol all the way to administrator, that was so important, because you have these officers down here trying to do their best, but unless they have, pardon the term, the insights of what's going on in the city, they really don't know where the problems are, except from what they're hearing from their first line supervisors. So this Insights is going to truly change the game to where, if you're going to look at this as an NFL or MLB, professional sports, you're going to have the best playbook out there. And that's what I love about Insights. And I'm hoping all of our existing and new customers say this is something that we need. Because I'm telling you, if I would have had this, it would have been an amazing game changer. Insights is awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say, having been a leader in the DoD, there's a lot of mail that needs to be answered. And, a lot of slide decks, PowerPoint, that they call it death by PowerPoint for a reason, right? Where you have to, like in military justice, you have to break down, the demographics of the people you're court-martialing. Are there bad trends here in terms of, are you targeting certain groups and things like this, right? So that kind of data, to have a system like this to push a button and then generate it. And I don't know if it's to the point or will be to where it pops out on a slide or report, but like, wowza. And then, for like you said, the trooper on the ground, if you will, some, I don't know, you watching the news, they've had to, answer emails like, here's 5 things I did last week. Boy, with Mark43, you could generate those bullets pretty quickly. So go Mark43, more and more important for the federal government every single day as we watch what's happening. But I love that. I know the cybersecurity enhancements as well. And you guys also, my understanding is there's been some enhancements to the mobile data terminals and updates in how you guys are interfacing with those. Can you explain that a little bit? Maybe Ganesha?
Yeah, you were right in my mind, because one of the things that excites me the most is our improvements on mobility. So we've been a leader in mobility for RMS for a while. We've now really improved on our CAD as well. I loved it at the last IACP. We actually had some of our customers sitting at our booth and actually dispatching. from our booth.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. So that, you can continue your job, continue your work, no matter what's happening around you from wherever you are. I don't think we're going to get to the place where we want dispatchers at home in their bed. But being able to do that, it makes a difference too when you're going call to call to call, which is what's happening these days. People are being called on double overtime to cover shifts, and so making that as easy as possible. You're on the scene. You're able to take pictures. Those pictures are automatically uploaded. If you're not going to be the investigator back at HQ is able to see all the information from what you've uploaded and get working on that. And that's really important too on community relations, right? Because the ability to be responsive to our community when, officers are saying the same thing over and over, but that moment is the most important thing to them, and not being able to get a response is difficult. So, at Mark43, our goal is the technology is supposed to make the job easier. This is a hard job for law enforcement all up and down the ranks, federal and otherwise. How do we make it easier? And I'll say another thing, and then I'll pass it over to Banning if he has anything to add that I'm loving, is that we're working with tribal police as well, and folks that are out there in rural, right, in the rural areas, and being able to make sure that they have mobile capabilities as well, because we know that's important. You got miles and miles between, different posts and things of that nature. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Banning, over to you.
Just go into this mobility. And again, with my experience in law enforcement, the last agency I worked for, a very small department, sheriff's office, and basically I patrolled over 920 square miles, and I was the only law enforcement officer for that 920 square miles.
Wow.
So if I needed a backup for a family violence, domestic, whatever you want to call it, which is known in the law enforcement world as one of the most dangerous calls that you can go to. I would repeatedly get sent to these calls. Sometimes there's weapons involved or a fight, and dispatch would advise me in my car while I'm going on the way there. They would say, Banning, we're working on trying to get you a backup officer. And if somebody's actually dressed out and ready at their house as a backup officer to come, that can still be over an hour before the response time for a backup. So I would go out there and do things. But let me also explain the communication side of this. We had digital, Motorola, the Kenwood radios, whichever one we were using that year, and a couple repeaters in the county. Once I got 5 miles out of our county seat, where our sheriff's office was, our portable radios became a paperweight. They could not reach that repeater tower. So if I was on a traffic stop out there and I needed help, there was no button for me to push like most agencies have. I had to do what's called do work now, survive this, then get back to your car like the 60s and radio for help. It was that bad in the majority part of the county. So what this mobility brings with Mark43, if I had my work phone with me and I've got the first responder app downloaded on there, I could, once I do work and I'm safe, I don't even have to return to the car. I could pull that out, run the person, add the person to CAD, the computer-aided dispatch. Dispatch is in there reading live time of what I'm putting in there if I can't talk on the radio. I can get a lot of information in there without having to go back to the car, to where we're wrapping this up on the scene, to where I have, we've got 9 points to get done before we can start doing a report. And I can get 8 of them done right there in the field before I even start transporting this guy to the jail. For whatever thing that's going on. So that communication that it brings these law enforcement officers out in the field is invaluable. You can't put a price tag on that because that's people's lives. Another thing I'll real quickly on is you can quickly determine when you run a license plate in your car, and let's say there's a warrant, or in Texas it's called a regional warrant, and you have the person's name and everything, and then you get up to the car, and it's a similar name, but you think it was right and your radio's not working. I can transfer that data to my phone, just opening that up and look at it. If I need a picture, it's there. It stops a lot. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people in the United States that get arrested every year that's not the correct person. And it takes till they get to the jail and they run what's called APHIS, the fingerprints, and they're like, oh, my gosh, we've arrested the wrong person. And is it truly a mistake? Yeah, it is on a lot of parts. But if we have that true communication in the beginning, it eliminates all that. It eliminates people having to go through that type of thing that don't need to be going to jail, and also eliminates lawsuits for cities.
Well, all of it. And then from the person's perspective, think about the time and the embarrassment, everything it saves for them. Like I said, you guys are constantly iterating, constantly improving, and I know you've got things on deck. We are kind of at time, but I want to talk about what's next before we roll the video here at the end. And also, by the way, everybody, some Mark 43 reps will be running around Drone Responders National Public Safety UAS conference next week. So find them on the floor, learn a little bit more, say hi. And then I know you guys are also, you do all the law enforcement conferences as well. But for the second time, some of your folks are going to be at AUVSI's Exponential. And I know participating with my Law Tech Connect is Carosoft Scholars. So great to have Patty Trexler and Jeremy Willingham join us again. So again, you can meet some, shake hands and learn a little bit more about Mark 43 in person in some of the places that my crowd typically goes to. But please, just if you can, like that 30-second elevator pitch, if you will, of what you expect next over the next year in terms of more technology improvements at Mark 43.
So we, as we mentioned several times, are going to be harnessing AI to help our officers on the street be more mission focused. Their jobs are not going to get easier. They're going to get much more complex, much more difficult. They're going to need to know more about what's happening on the scene. So making sure we're able to download and utilize drone footage in our RMS, which we are able to do. Integrating predictive analytics and real-time AI insights directly into the officers' workflows, and improving those response times. And then just expanding our AI chatbot capabilities. So we're enhancing that to go beyond just record searches. It'll assist in analytics, identifying patterns, and providing real-time recommendations right there in the field.
Okay, amazing. Banning, did you want to add anything?
Real quick on the brief AI that we have coming out for the investigators, we had talked earlier, the MO, and that's a huge thing that a lot of people don't understand, the modus operandi of what's going on out in the field. This brief AI tool allows CID or your detectives in the field to get a brief summary of everything that's gone on for whatever they're looking up, and they can quickly eliminate things that are not involved with that. So we don't have countless hours of investigating stuff that has nothing to do with that primary goal of what they're trying to do, shortening those hours and truly getting out there to get the quote unquote bad people interviewed and figured out what's going on. And if it needs to go to trial, if we can build a case on that, it shortens that time. And that is amazing for cities.
That is. Well, what is amazing is that our time is flowing. I knew it would. So much going on at Mark 43. Appreciate you both being here. I know you're in different places, and we had a couple challenges today, but appreciate your patience, and everybody out there. Kay Cruz for jumping in, and also he thanked you guys for your answers. You may have just garnered yourself your own super fan, and we're going to go ahead and roll your video. But before we do, can you each take 1 second just to tell everybody how folks can reach you and learn more? So Ganesha, I'm going to go with you first.
Yeah, it's best with just LinkedIn, both for me and Mark 43, and then Mark 43 is on IG. All
right, awesome. Banning.
LinkedIn is the platform that I use primarily, and then just in which my email should be on there, which is just banning.sweatland@mark43.com. And of course, I got to throw in the plug for 2 Cops, 1 Donut. You can reach out to me there as well.
Okay, very cool. He's got a lot of super fans, so check that show out. I know you break down different scenarios in great detail in that show. So that's all she wrote for today, but stay tuned. We're going to roll this video, so check it out, and we hope to see you again next week. We have Tom Adams from Drone Shield. You guys pretty much know him, but learn about what Drone Shield is doing out there as well. And we'll be live at Drone Responders from the floor Next week with the full crew on Thursday, we'll be streaming at 11 a.m. Eastern. So line that up on your calendar for next week. We are out here.
What's your emergency?
When lives are on the line, you need to answer the call. But police departments are down 36% of their ideal workforce. The number of billion-dollar natural disasters per year has doubled each decade. Public safety agencies turn to technology to help, but siloed technology tools leave departments in the dark. Public safety is more demanding than ever. Your agency deserves secure technology made for your mission. Introducing Mark43, the intelligent platform for public safety operations. An open end-to-end integrated software solution that empowers agencies to work faster and smarter and keep their communities safer. It means you always have the right data at the right time in the tools you rely on every day, helping you work smarter and faster. And you can easily share information across neighboring departments for strategic, coordinated responses. Mark43 is a cloud-native software-as-a-service solution, allowing agencies to leverage great technology without needing technical experts to keep it running and secure. Dispatchers save critical seconds with an intuitive user experience and the most relevant information pushed right to the responder to improve situational awareness and community safety. Responders en route can keep a pulse on vital details so they're ready before their ambulance or backup arrives. Communicate with officers out of their vehicle with real-time and critical location-based information right on their phone. In the field or at the station, investigators can save time, including documenting evidence, witness statements, and writing their narrative from the scene in an instant, allowing them to get back into the community faster. Back at headquarters, your team can analyze data and identify crime patterns, sharing information and insights with leadership, fellow agencies, and the public. Our unified platform is the innovative partner every agency needs to operate at its best, and what every community deserves to feel safe. We provide the backbone of your department's operations, but your people remain the heartbeat that keeps your community strong. Work smarter, respond faster, and keep your team and your community safer with Mark43. Mark43, the intelligent platform for public safety operations.